Welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we are looking at something utterly fascinating. We're going to break down what might just be the most devious, borderline sadistic gaming experiment ever designed by researchers. Now, at first glance, this looks like a straightforward test of sheer human endurance. It's a setup that completely strips players of their control, tests their patience, and pushes their sanity to the absolute brink, all in the name of measuring willpower. Or so we thought. Just picture this. A gamer, staring wide-eyed at a screen, gripping a controller with white knuckles and whispering to their own on-screen character, "Don't follow me." Yeah, that is an actual quote from a participant whose mind was literally breaking under the pressure of this experiment. I mean, how does a simple video game drive a person to talk to their own avatar like it's some kind of terrifying stalker? Okay, let's dive into this and find out exactly what drove these players to the edge. Section 1. The bizarre willpower test. To understand this psychological unraveling, you have to know the core premise. Participants had to play a video game through a capture board that intentionally delayed the visuals. That means you press jump and nothing happens. You wait, and then, finally, your character jumps. You're effectively playing blind to your present moment inputs, navigating only by a delayed echo of your own actions. The researchers came up with 5 brutal conditions to systematically target human willpower. First, pain tolerance, which we'll look at closer in a second. Next, breaking habits. If you're a button masher, well, the game violently forced you to stop, penalizing you for anything faster than 1 click per second. Then, resisting desire. Every single time you died, the restart button was disabled for an agonizing 10 seconds. You just had to sit there and wait. Fourth, physiological control. Imagine an absolute ban on drinking water for 15 minutes, while the screen aggressively plays advertisements for ice-cold, refreshing beverages, complete with those thirsty sound effects. And finally, mental stress. The game audio was replaced by high-pitched screams overlaid with a voice relentlessly narrating your past mistakes, whispering things like, "You always mess up." The pain tolerance condition escalated in a truly diabolical way. Step 1, you start playing. And the delay is, barely noticeable. But at step 2, that delay creeps up by 0.2 seconds every 5 minutes. By step 3, you are enduring an unplayable, excruciating 3-second delay. You press left, and 3 full seconds later, your character actually moves left. The ultimate goal, step 4, was simply to clear the game's objective without rage quitting. Sounds impossible, right? Section 2. Participants breakdown by time. Analyzing the actual gameplay footage is where this explainer goes from a clinical study to a tragicomedy. I have to warn you, the participants' sanity unravels incredibly fast right on camera. The timeline of this experiment perfectly illustrates the descent. In the first 0 to 5 minutes, everyone is full of confidence. "Oh, this is easy," they say. Sensation-seeking players actually loved it at first, thinking it was a fun test of their reflexes. Meanwhile, perfectionist players immediately got angry, insisting their skills weren't being reflected and furiously trying to fix the monitor settings. Some rhythm gamers actually started pressing the controller with their butts just to compensate for the lost beat. But then, boom, we hit the 5 to 20-minute mark. Total chaos. Impulsive players wanted to smash their controllers, only stopping because they realized the capture board was expensive, so they opted to punch pillows instead. Avoidant players? They started faking bathroom breaks just to get away from the screen. Which leads us to the most hilarious escalation during that chaos phase. Players started trying to outsmart the delay. They figured, okay, I'll just press the button slowly ahead of time. Picture a player trying to jump over a pit. They press jump 2 entire seconds early. But the character just walks straight into the pit before the jump even registers. The player throws their hands up and yells, "I was fooled by my future self." Or consider the player who had to wait 10 seconds to respawn. They wait 9 seconds, lose patience, press the button, get penalized, and yell, "I tried to save 1 second." Then they try again and fail at 8 seconds. Their brains were literally short-circuiting. But once we cross that 20-minute mark, we enter the phase of pure psychological collapse and hyperfocus. And honestly, it gets surprisingly dark and incredibly relatable. Cynical players stopped playing entirely and just started dancing, claiming they would use their willpower to dance for 3 minutes. During the physiological control test, one desperately thirsty player, completely bombarded by water commercials, audibly swallowed their own saliva and muttered, "My saliva is hydration too," totally losing their grip on reality. Another player, listening to the screaming voice telling them they make mistakes, actually started nodding and agreeing, going, "You're right, I do always make mistakes."
One gamer even blew hot air onto their monitor to create a layer of fog, physically trying to hide the lag from themselves.
So, the crucial point is, after watching people swallow their own spit and blow on their monitors in absolute despair, did the few people who actually cleared this test succeed because they had ironclad willpower? Were they really just mentally stronger than the people who punched pillows and quit?
Section 3. Real reasons for success and failure. To answer our question, we have to strip away the emotion and look at the cold, hard data, because the scientific reality here completely debunks everything we just watched. Actually, scratch that. It wasn't about inner strength at all. This data flips everything we assume about gamers right on its head. Who were the winners? People with naturally slow reaction times and low sensory sensitivity. Who were the losers? The people with incredibly fast reaction speeds who were highly sensitive to stimuli. I mean, think about that. Being a faster or better gamer actually guaranteed that you would fail this specific test. If your brain processes inputs at lightning speed, a 3-second screen delay is profoundly stressful. But if you naturally have a slower reaction time, the delay doesn't disrupt your cognitive flow nearly as much. You're simply less bothered by it. It was entirely about environmental and biological compatibility. Professional musicians and dancers easily beat the delay because their brains are already highly trained in sensory action delay, which is basically matching a physical movement to a delayed beat. They had a built-in cheat code. And what about the people who failed the water ban? They weren't weak-willed, they just had high water metabolisms. Their biological thirst kicked in way faster than the others. And look at the external factors. Some people succeeded at the 10-second waiting test simply because they happened to have a clock visible in the room to count the seconds accurately. Others lasted longer just because a friend was in the room cheering them on, rather than sitting alone in the dark. External factors determine success far more than any internal well of strength. Section 4. The illusion of willpower. And this brilliantly illustrates the core realization of this explainer. We love to praise the victors and tell ourselves that success is purely a matter of gritting your teeth and pushing through. But this experiment completely pulls back the curtain on that illusion. Which brings us to the ultimate, beautiful irony of this whole study. A participant who utterly failed the test threw down their controller in frustration and shouted, "This is not my willpower problem. The game controlled me." They were blaming the capture board, trying to make an excuse for their failure. But when they said that, the lead experimenter just smiled. Because that excuse, that exact realization, that was the true answer to the test all along. It all comes down to a single profound idea. If the test had demanded a 0.1-second reaction time, well, the fast gamers would have won. If the water band was removed, the players with fast metabolisms would have succeeded. The winners weren't these heroes of willpower. They were just lucky that their specific quirks, biology, and environment perfectly aligned with the bizarre conditions of the test. Change the environment, and the losers become winners, and the winners face utter despair. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. If you are struggling or failing at something in your life right now, is it really a lack of willpower? Or are you just trying to play with a 3-second delay in an environment that wasn't built for you? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today.